A catastrophic wall of mud, rock, and ice tore free from the high Himalayan ridge along the Nepal-Tibet frontier on a Wednesday morning, collapsing into a mountain river and sending a violent torrent of debris-laden water cascading through the valleys below. The moment it reached the border crossing was caught on camera. The footage shows people sprinting across the open checkpoint grounds before the image turns brown as mud and boulders consume the road within seconds. The surge entered the Bhote Koshi River at roughly 9 a.m. local time, traveling from the Chinese side of the frontier into Nepal's Rasua district, a mountainous region home to around 50,000 people. The communities of Timur and Sayafrubanshi absorbed the first blow. Both are perched along the riverbank. Both function as staging grounds for trekkers bound for the Langtang Valley and pilgrims making their way to Kailash Mansarovar, and both were packed with vehicles, goods, and travelers when the water arrived. Nepal's foreign minister told Parliament that early assessments point to a seismic event in the high Himalaya as the initial trigger. The shaking is believed to have dislodged a mass of ice and rock that slid into the river channel and formed a temporary natural dam. When that dam gave way, everything trapped behind it surged down the valley in a single devastating pulse, which is why the flood arrived not as a gradual swell, but as one concentrated wall of destruction. The confirmed death toll has climbed steadily and now stands at 31 or higher, according to police in Bagmatai province. Authorities expect that number to rise significantly, as those still unaccounted for far outnumber the confirmed dead. Nepal's tourism board, drawing on records provided by trekking and travel agencies, has identified 384 travelers as missing. Of those, 291 are foreign nationals and 93 are Nepali citizens. The range of nationalities reflects how heavily this corridor is traveled. 105 Indian citizens are among the missing, along with 12 British nationals, 17 Malaysians, 4 South Africans, and citizens from Australia, the Netherlands, and the United States. 8 South Korean hydropower engineers are also unaccounted for. Authorities caution that many of those listed may simply be out of reach in an area where phone and internet infrastructure has been destroyed. Rescue operations were badly hampered for hours. Army helicopters could not safely land in the worst affected zones while the river remained well above its banks. Crews instead hoisted survivors directly off rooftops and out of the mud using winches. Footage released by the Nepali army shows people caked to the shoulders in gray silt being lifted into hovering aircraft, some visibly wounded. At least a dozen individuals were airlifted from Rasua before deteriorating conditions forced a temporary halt. The destruction did not end at the border zone. The Bhote Koshi feeds into the Trishulai River, and the surge carried well downstream into Nuwakot and Dating districts. Around 60 homes near Trishulai Bazaar were swept away, and 2 crossings over the Trishulai were damaged or destroyed entirely. Residents described cars, freight containers, and sections of buildings tumbling past in the current, with mud burying ground floors and courtyards many kilometers from the collapse's origin point. Nepal's power infrastructure suffered a severe blow. The Energy Ministry reported roughly 430 megawatts of generation capacity knocked offline, the majority of it hydroelectric, representing more than 12% of the country's total installed hydro capacity of approximately 3.2 gigawatts. The Raswagadi project, rated at 111 megawatts, was directly in the flood's path, as were the Chilami, Upper Trishuli 3A, Trishuli 3B, and Divagat facilities. The customs complex at Raswagadi, one of Nepal's principal trade gateways into China, was overwhelmed. Vehicles and stockpiled goods on the grounds were swept away by the current, and a recently completed bridge at the crossing was destroyed outright. Cross-border commercial traffic has come to a full stop. On the Chinese side, state media reported casualties and missing persons at the Jirong port checkpoint in Jiangmu, where the slide crossed the international frontier. Roads, communications, and power in the surrounding area were severed, and traffic authorities warned that routes in the zone remain at risk of secondary events. Chinese authorities ordered a full-scale search effort and heightened early warning measures, with relief supplies moving into the affected county. No official casualty figures have been disclosed from that side. Downstream districts remain on high alert. The Bhote Koshi and Trishuli eventually join the Gandak River system, which crosses into India, and security has been reinforced at the Valmiki Nagar barrage. Nepal's prime minister confirmed that police and military units have joined the rescue operation and ordered residents in low-lying riverside areas to relocate to higher ground. This is not the first disaster to strike this stretch of river. Just over a year ago, a flash flood tore down the same corridor, killing 9 people, leaving more than 20 missing, and washing away the Friendship Bridge connecting Nepal and China. That event was later confirmed to have originated from a supraglacial lake outburst located approximately 36 kilometers north of the Nepal-China border, at an altitude of around 5,150 meters. The pattern behind these events is well documented. Accelerating warming across the Himalaya is destabilizing ice masses, thawing the frozen ground that once locked steep slopes in place, and expanding meltwater ponds perched on and behind glaciers. Those ponds are contained by loose moraine and ice, not by engineered structures. And the region sits within one of the most seismically active mountain ranges on Earth, adding a second potential trigger. The result is an increasing frequency of high-energy floods that arrive without rainfall, without storm warnings, and without enough time for communities downstream to respond. Search and recovery operations continue across Rasuwa, Nuwakot, and Dating. Officials warned that many communities remain inaccessible by road, that the full extent of losses in the upper valley is still unknown, and that the confirmed death toll is likely to climb well beyond current figures as teams reach the areas closest to where the mountain gave way.